Hi, it's Sunday and it's time for my mental health vlog, and I did not do one last Monday. 3-day weekends really throw me off because usually by the time I realize I haven't done one on Sunday, it's either too late in the evening or I'm just not in a place where I can do the vlog. So I got 2 weeks worth of stuff to catch up on. Last week I found out that a classmate of mine who I graduated with had a heart attack and died. This was not someone that I was super close with, but my graduating class consisted of like 68, 69 kids. So everyone knew everyone. In fact, the entire high school had probably about 300 or 400 kids. So that's generally small. So again, everyone knew everyone, especially because I had a sister who was 3 years older than me. So I knew the people in her class. I knew the people in my class. We were in band, so we knew most of the people between the classes. So it was just kind of a nasty little reality slap because this is 2 from my class that are gone. One died from a gunshot and the other one died of a heart attack. So the heart attack is the one that hits weirder because it's natural causes. And it's provided a very morbid mindset for me of the inevitable, which is just, okay, who's next? Which, when you think about it, it's not great. But I will say it has allowed for more communication and connection with some of the schoolmates that I actually do want to keep in touch with. So that's been a silver lining for the cloud, is getting to talk to classmates a little more and reconnecting with those. There was one in particular who I don't feel like she and I were ever really close, but I had a lot of respect for her because she was like the person I saw as like the coolest person in our class. And I feel like my senior year I got to know her a little bit better, but I've really enjoyed reconnecting with her as an adult. It's been a lot of fun, and even getting to know people who I knew but wasn't super close with, but we've developed friendships as adults, because you grow, you change, you evolve, and hopefully that's the point. In fact, one of them is a teacher at the high school that I went to, and she and I were talking about a student in her class that we were relatively certain was going to kick that closet door wide open, and that was about 6 months ago. And sure enough, this past week, he came out to her. And I continue to be amazed that the school that they are in now is not the same school that I was in when I went there. And that whereas that child will still face challenges being out and gay at a Christian school, the challenges, the support that student will have, not only from staff, but from other classmates, is something that I never would have had. And even my friend said, I wish I could have been this person for you when you needed it, which was very nice to hear. But I told her, I'm like, all we can do is grow and try and be the things that we needed or saw were needed when we were kids. So in that same mindset, I said, I've never met this student. I know nothing of this student, but please feel free to give this student my phone number if he wants to text and just kind of get some insight that being a child of that school I can provide. But of course, Jesus Christ is different. But I love that it's different. I really do. It was a small school, so no matter how much I want to, put those years behind me, I still have connections. I'll always have connections from that school, especially because with a sister and I in high school together, and the friendships that she has bonded that have lasted her whole life, and some of the friendships I have bonded, which I still hold so dear. One of my best friends, who honestly I don't speak with very often, but I know that I could pick up the phone at any moment and call her, and she and I would be right back where we were. In fact, I texted her the other day when our classmate passed away, and again, it was just like we were picked up right where we left off, and then the texting stopped, and it'll pick back up again, and it'll continue. But I have lots of mixed memories about school. I try really hard to only focus on the good ones, because the bad ones that I experienced, I'm so grateful no longer exist in the capacity that they did back then. So this child has a much better chance of having a better high school education and experience than I did. So August was hot here in Houston. There were only 3 days that we did not hit 100 degrees, and they were not 3 consecutive days. August was miserable. Of course, as you know, on moving day, our air conditioner died, so that did not help, the fact that it was so hot every fucking day. But I talked about my son being grounded and lying on the last vlog that I did 2 weeks ago. That has only gotten worse. Last weekend, he went into my room, took his phone, and I caught him in his room with his phone. Now, that's part 1 of the problem. He went into my room and stole the phone. Part 2, he thought ahead enough to come up with a plan and a story if he got caught with his phone. So this was premeditated. So when I looked at the fact that, okay, in order to get technology, my son has been lying, stealing, and planning, and conniving, and plotting. So I looked at my ex and I said, please understand my experience here. Our child is exhibiting addictive behavior. So I feel our son is addicted to technology. And I talked about that in my meeting this week, as an addict, as a parent, being an addict, knowing the signs. I'm terrified because my son was born with heroin in his system, and although the doctor said there are very few long-term side effects, the 2 to look out for were ADHD, check, and a more sensitivity to addictive behaviors, more sensitivity to addictive substances, aspects, things like that. They very easily become addicted to things, and I'm seeing it, so check. My biggest concern is that personal experience, addiction can move from one thing to another. That's not always healthy. So I really want to do what I can to get control of the situation now. And my ex, unfortunately, has a different opinion about therapists and mental health. So right now we are not on the same page, but I am working on something that will eventually allow me to get my son in to see somebody, because I think right now that's critical. We have not been to the gym since we moved. Now, the first week after the move, I'm running up and down stairs, carrying boxes, hauling things, so I was still getting plenty of cardio. But the week or 2 since then, where I'm not as active, I'm definitely starting to feel more run down, more lethargic. I'm thoroughly enjoying the weight loss. I'd love to keep it off, but that's going to require me to go back to the gym and get back to being active. So I think this afternoon we're gonna go look at the 2 that are close to us and see which ones we want to move into or join, see what kind of deals they have going on. But I need that physical activity. I definitely feel like going to the gym was self-care for me, and that's something that's fallen by the wayside. And with my track history of self-care, I can't afford to have anything fall by the wayside. We did take a break from moving and doing things around the house and went to see the Barbie movie, which everyone in the world had already seen. And I agree with everyone else in the world. It was an amazing movie. It was so much better than I expected. It was not a movie about a toy. It was a movie about the systemic patriarchy that keeps women pushed down and that keeps women having to do more and more and more just to seem to be equal or on the same playing field with men. And I learned a lot from that movie. As a Xennial or Gen X person, the older you are, the harder it is to unlearn things that you were raised with, or unlearn the things that you've always just seen as normal, which normal doesn't mean right. So I definitely learned a lot watching that movie. I would encourage anyone to see it, and I can absolutely see why the just cisgendered straight white men are up in arms, because it's absolutely attacking their current status, which is completely undeserved and unearned. So power to the people. So if you have not seen the Barbie movie, it is not just a silly movie about a toy. It is an outstanding movie. It is Universal's, I think, biggest hit, or Warner Brothers' biggest hit. It's already surpassed most of the Harry Potter movies, so it's popular and it's good. And America Ferrera should absolutely at least get an Oscar nom for her speech, because it was powerful and it was beautiful and it was right. So if you're one of the 6 people in the world that have not yet seen the Barbie movie, make plans to go see it, or at least reserve time out of your schedule to watch it when it comes out on a DVD, or however people watch movies anymore that aren't Netflix. I have both of my embroidery machines back from the store, and both have been running at full speed, because as soon as I opened my shop back up, a flood of orders came in, which has been beneficial to our current financial situation. And I did weigh at my lowest last week, which was 261, and it's been a long time since I've been in the 260s, so even being that low in the 260s, it was quite celebratory. I was very happy about that. This week, my fiance and I have been mostly my fiance and I have been working on an interior focus wall in our bedroom, and he has done an amazing job. We were trying to figure out what to do with the fireplace downstairs, so we went on Pinterest, and then we saw this really cool design that had like slats on the fireplace, and we're like, well, that's not what we're really looking for the fireplace, but what about if we did that in the bedroom behind the headboard? So we've got this gorgeous wallpaper that comes on like most of the wall. Then behind the headboard, we painted it the same dark color that's on the wallpaper. We had it color matched. And then my fiance went and stained all these slats. So we have all these slats of wood up behind the headboard, and then there's lighting, like access lighting, behind the top of the board. So it's beautiful, and he did an amazing job. He really seems to get into these interior design projects, and I have zero design skills whatsoever. So I'm the muscle. Let me hold this so you can make sure it's level. That's my job. And he asked my opinion, and my opinion, as always, it's amazing, because everything he does is amazing. However, he did send me a text message this week that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but that's on me, not him. He reminded me late in the day, a couple days ago, you didn't do your vlog last week. Make sure you do it this week. You need to get back in the habit. And he's right. And I'm fully aware that I didn't do one last week, and he and I even talked about the fact that I hadn't done one last week. But the text message came, it came at a time where I just read it and it rubbed me the wrong way, and it really pissed me off. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, why am I pissed off? I've asked him to call me out on things if he sees behaviors that are different than what I've set, my patterns. So he did exactly what I asked him to do. It just pissed me off, because he was right, and I knew I hadn't done it, and I was going to go back and do it later, and that never happened. So I just didn't have one. But he's right. When that didn't happen a couple of weeks ago, I made a point. I'm like, I have to be careful when patterns change. So he was just looking out for me, which I appreciate, but at the same time, it pissed me off. And I did tell him, I said, this is not on you, it's on me. I'm pissed off. I don't know why I'm pissed off, but it rubbed me the wrong way. So I just wanted to let him know. He was fine with that. Update on the divorce. I did hear from the lawyer this week. My ex is in default because he did not respond within a certain amount of time, so we are moving forward with a default divorce. So we finished up the paperwork this week. I found 2 little errors I need her to correct, so she's going to make some changes, updates on those. I'll sign it on Monday, and then we'll get that off to the courts, and then we'll start moving forward with that. So things are finally moving along, and there's definitely a light at the end of the tunnel, which there was one point where I couldn't even see the tunnel, so I'm thrilled to be close to being done. We got a new fence put up, at least one side between us and the neighbors, where we gave the neighbor the quote. He's like, I'm a contractor, I can do this for a lot cheaper. And he did, and it looks amazing. It took like a day and a half, so the dogs were like going outside on leashes, which they were not happy about, but it looks amazing. So we just have 2 more sides of the fence to do, piece by piece. I had a little bit of an outburst yesterday. My son came over, and in his bathroom, which we've had some issues with his bathroom, in the sink, he pushed the drain stopper down. There's no little thingy to pull it back up. So I've never pushed it down. He did. And then he couldn't get it back up. And he was trying to use a flathead screwdriver to get it back up. So when I went in there, I'm like, why is this sink full of water? And there's this flathead screwdriver next to it. And he's like, I accidentally pushed the thing down. I'm like, dude, you didn't push it down. You hit it down. Like, I can see there's a dent in it. It's pushed down pretty hard. And I was pissed. And I told him, like, you need to just walk away for a minute. And he did. And a few minutes later, I was like, fuck. It turns out there's a little switch, a lever, in the pipes underneath the sink that you can flip up and down that makes the little drain stopper go up and down. Did not know that existed. Now I do. I apologized to my son. But I told him, I'm like, you've got to be careful with this house. You can't do something unless you know how to undo it. I said, because right now this house has been a money pit and it scares me. But I do feel like, knock on wood, not too hard, that we are out of the money pit era and now being able to do the fun things like paint and decorate, which is good because we've got like pictures and stuff in boxes, and at this point, I'm over boxes. I want everything open and unpacked, but doing that would cause me to rush my fiance, and I don't want to rush my fiance. I want him to do things on his own timeline. Doesn't mean it doesn't bug the hell out of me, but I'm fully letting him do things on his own timeline. I do not want him to feel rushed. I do not want him to feel pressured. I don't want to put that on him. And besides, he's having more fun with the design projects, and he's got the mindset of, I don't want to put stuff on walls if we're going to paint, which I get, but there are some rooms that we're not going to paint for like a year, because budgets have changed drastically. Stupid fucking air conditioning. So I don't want pictures in boxes for a year. So there's got to be a happy medium at some point. I don't know. I did pick a color for my office. I'll show it to you. It's called Calypso. So the wall behind me is going to be this color at some point in the near future. I do love color. Yeah. Everyone knows I love color. It's relatively obvious I wear color. So that's a lot to cover. I did have therapy this past week, and I went over most of this with her. She's happy where I am. She's happy the things I'm seeing. She's happy the things I'm changing. My son made a comment in the car today. He's like, what happens if you wake up at 3 a.m. and you go pee, and then you decide you just want to change your life, but you can't because it's 3 a.m? Now, this was followed by a series of hypothetical questions, which that's my son's favorite thing, is what if and hypothetical questions, and most of them are ridiculous. But I did tell him, I said, if there's something in your life that you don't like and it's in your control, change it. Because you can. You're the only one that can. And that's true for everyone. If there's something going on in your life that you have the power to change, accept the things you cannot change, have the courage to change the things you can, and the wisdom to know the difference. You're all familiar with the Serenity prayer. So if it's something that you can change, it's in your control, in your power, the only one holding you back from making that change is you. Change it. It sounds a lot harder than it can actually be if you just take one step at a time. Let that be a little nugget of wisdom for this week and last week, since you didn't get one. So check on your friends, make sure they're doing okay. I had the opportunity to go to a wonderful friend of mine's pool party yesterday that he's had every year annually, and I've had to miss every year annually. But we arranged things so I could go yesterday, and I'm so glad I did. It was wonderful hanging out with my friends. Check on your family, make sure they're doing okay. My sister, after her accident, she is finally allowed to put weight on the other leg, and she has started PT to learn how to walk again. We are all ridiculously excited because you never know, we didn't know if and when that was going to happen. Check on yourself, make sure you're doing okay. I'm doing good. My self-esteem is really good. I feel good. I'm happy with so many things in my life. I hope you are too. And if not, and it's in your control, change it. All right, that is it. I hope I gave you a good 2 weeks worth of dump, emotional dump. That's what this is for me. That hopefully you can take something away with. But I will see you next week. Bye, guys.